What,
Yeah,
50?
yeah, yeah, no. You know, I had a construction company, I was always the first one there by far. This is I got this other guy helping me, I'm not even gonna try to compete with him. You know, he comes in at 15 minutes before he's even supposed to. And I don't commit another half hour, he's there. So, no, I'm not gonna waste it. Excited kid. Gonna throw meat at him.
Oh, there's five folks on the call. Hello. Who's attending the meeting right now?
Hello, this is Linda from Sandgate.
Hi, Linda.
How are you?
I got Nancy.
Yes.
All right, and we have Nick on the call as well. It's three, but I see five people on the attendance, so six just popped up. Possible members of the public. Okay, so. Yeah. All right, so we're a little short on quorum right now. So we could hold on for just another minute and see if some folks pop in. So quorum is 50% of the number of votes that each town gets. Yeah, we're at 50% of the population. So we are at 23% of the population right now.
What's Stu against Bennington?
Have you got me in there, Scott?
Oh, hey, Stu, I didn't get you in there. All right, now we're good. Thank you. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you join, Stu. All right, so we are all set then as far as quorum goes. Great. Just to confirm, we got Arlington here, Bennington, Manchester, Pownell, Sandgate, Searsburg, Stamford, and Sunderland. Is that right?
You got Dorset as well.
Dorset.
Yeah.
Oh, see, sorry, Rob, I can't see you there. Hi, Hi, Rob. Okay, great.
You know, James,
Great.
a good number.
So I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 4:02, Wednesday the 4th. And first order of business is to accept the minutes from previous meetings.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I just have an
Okay, Carmen?
correction I'd like to make. to the
Okay.
minutes. Under the paragraph 9 outreach and events update, it's stated that Paula also noted, it's like 4 lines from the bottom. Paula also noted the battery collection at farmers markets has been highly successful with 6 boxes recently shipped and another already 3/4 full. That actually is Tom Shuey's remark that he made in his last meeting, because I haven't collected anything but a couple of handfuls so far. So I didn't want to oversell my success.
Okay, that was from here. Okay, I apologize.
Yeah,
My
it
notes.
was, there was a whole bunch of conversation going on. I went back and watched the recording this afternoon. I thought, wait a minute, I don't remember getting 6 boxes.
All
I
right.
only got maybe 1. And then I saw it, and he said he had 6 boxes, and I already had another one 3/4 of the way full after.
I've
So,
got 4 right now.
yeah. So,
All right, so we can just strip that
Yeah,
whole
just-
sentence
just
from the
cut it,
minutes.
All right, any other corrections? Suggestions? All right, all in favor of accepting the minutes with that one correction, please say aye.
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 All right. Minutes are accepted.
I'm sorry, Tom second that? Who seconded the? I know Stu made the motion. Who was the second?
Nancy,
Okay.
I'll do it.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. Thank you, everyone. So let's start the next portion of the meeting, which is our 2024, really Q4, but then fiscal year 24 total spending. That's on page 6 of the board meeting materials packet that was sent out. Table 1 shows our expenses by category and the income from grants, sales, and donations. A little bit lower in the income than we expected. We didn't quite get all the money we wanted to from the Department of Ag. So we got, instead of 7,700, 6,600 were reimbursable. This has to do with just some the fee structure and the way our household hazardous waste contractor sets everything up. They have like these big energy fees that they tag onto things, and there was some reimbursable. They were trying to reimburse us for pesticides that we collect, and the energy fees didn't get fully reimbursed associated with the pesticides. It's just the way that their billing was set up. So I'm trying to fix that and make sure it doesn't happen again next year. See if there's issues with the grant and the way it's set up. But we had a number of charges, but the way the invoices looked, it didn't look like it was all specifically going towards pesticides. So that was how it was. But so there was basically truck fees and things like that. So unfortunately, we didn't get all the income from that. But everything else is within 4.5% of what we had passed as the original fiscal year 24 budget. I'm sorry, we were around 4.5% increase is what we had for the FY25 budget, excuse me. We're 6% over what our total budget was for FY24. So that's, as you can see, there's a large problem with that when it came to the BCRC management costs. Those were higher than anticipated. If you look at table 3, you can see how that broke out. Basically, our my average hours per week ended up being 23 hours per week. We're contracted for 20 hours per week. And that additional funding combined with we passed the budget before I received a salary increase and before there was a change in the indirect rate for BCRC, and that's why it's reflected the way it is in that. So if you look, you could look at the way my program manager hours are set up. You can see 671 on program administration, 103 on just general actions. That includes things like going to the compost fair or going to the Fix-It fair, things like that. Then hazardous waste, that was 431 hours were spent on that. And then just other things related to the multimedia website, things like that. So that's how my hours are broken down. I can get people a more detailed description of that if they wish. But that's how it's all kind of been shaking out. We have increased that line item in the budget for next year, and it should be closer to what my current rate of pay is and what our averages are. So that's I'll also keep an eye on it and try to make sure that we stay a little lower in that regard. Everything else sort of funding in the funded the right way, slightly lower than we anticipated spending on the household hazardous waste program. So that's 10% under the budget, and hopefully we can remain that way and continue to save costs on that program. And yeah, otherwise, are there any other questions?
Is it too late to reduce the salary increase?
That would be something you can talk to Nick Zayak about, as he is the BCRC executive committee chair there, and if you want to bring that up. And then table 2 is also good, so you know this is your quarterly allocation of expenses by town. So this is how much you've been charged throughout the year for being a member of the Solid Waste Alliance. Are there any questions related to the budget? Otherwise,
Remember we had money put in for this year, from last year's budget. We had that money coming in. I don't see any of that here.
Oh, you're talking about the reimbursements.
Yes.
Yeah, so there were reimbursements and, I don't have that locked here. There were only 5 towns that chose to get reimbursed instead of to get. So what we did is we 5 towns decided to get credits towards their bills instead of, reimbursed. That was approximately 2 quarters worth of billing is what we anticipated that to be. The first quarter, so this is what the first quarter was.
I'm not really seeing that anywhere.
Yeah, so that is not reflected in this, the way that this spreadsheet is
I
set.
noticed.
I can get you that, information specifically related to panel. The second round of bills, for the final quarter of fiscal year 24, just went out earlier this week. And I applied the round of credits. It's only gonna be like, for most places, that's gonna be basically what it is. Some places are gonna have like $10 left in credit at the end of it or something like that, but for the 5 towns that did choose reimbursements instead of having BCRC write them a check, yeah, this second quarter will also pretty much be fully reimbursable as far as the quarter FY23 quarter 4 billing there.
As you know, I'm going to get asked about that.
Sure. I'll make sure.
So no doubt about that, isn't it?
Yeah, so that was just because there were, of the 13 towns, only 5 chose to have credit applied to their account instead of just having a check rolled out. So I can get that information out to the board and let everyone know where that's at. All right, so since there's no more discussion about that, the next item on the agenda is a proposal for a compost committee. So there's a couple of things happening right now, and agenda item 3 and 4 are related to each other. So the first is a proposal for a compost committee that's sort of has the heading of under the heading of BCSWA. So the town of Bennington has had a committee that has worked generally as a little bit of a spinoff of the energy committee from the town of Bennington that organized a event trying to promote composting over the summer. It was a pretty successful event, but there was and they have also been working closely with the Chamber of Commerce to try to get them to commit to a zero waste at chamber-sponsored events policy moving forward. The Chamber of Commerce is, of course, also a countywide organization that has come to fruit in the form of a potential memorandum of understanding that is located on page 8 of the board meeting packet. The committee wanted to have a kind of an official presence in some kind of an organization to sign the MOU with, and also to potentially have a little additional guidance from us. They've been meeting for quite a while, probably 2 years or so on and off, maybe longer if Paula knows more than that, but.
They started last October, last August.
Last
So
August.
it's a year. Yeah.
About a year.
When they started to come together to have these meetings, yeah.
And then, and when did they approach the chamber about the zero waste?
Oh, that was probably early summer. I mean, it hasn't been that long.
Okay.
I mean, to do actually a formalized thing like this, I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
So, there's been some conversation about 2 of the key players in that group right now are a gentleman named Marsh Nash and also Jenny Jenkins, who is a select board member in the town of Bennington. They want to expand it. We talked about reaching out to folks in the Dorset Energy Committee and the Manchester Energy Committee to see if there was interest also in making this much more of a district-wide effort to continue to do work on events and other just general promotion of composting and food scraps collection. And so the thought is, if we make them an official subcommittee of the Bennington County Solid Waste Alliance, it'll be a little bit easier for them to seek out things like grant opportunities and to participate in things like this. Creating a memorandum of understanding with different organizations, event organizers and things like that to make sure that that happens into the future. There's no financial component to this aside from some staff time, which I guess we just discussed staff time and how I'm already working on it. But we had a facility getting underway last year, and there was a lot of time put into that work. But we feel that we give them office space to meet at the BCRC. We give them advisement. We're not going to be in charge of creating agendas or anything like that, but there would be a group that's sort of organized under us and able to, again, use our names for things like potential grant opportunities or like I said, or this memorandum of understanding type of thing. So I wanted to bring that up with you guys, see how it goes, see how you're feeling about that. It's the same group that organizes every year around Garlic Town in Bennington that they all scrape the plates out, they collect everybody's food and they scrape them out and they do a lot of extra work. So we're hoping to also, through this committee, formalize what Paula has been trying to put together for a while, which is a group called the Green, similar to a Green Team group that operates
Warriors
out of
there.
the Chittenden County. They call it the Waste
Waste
Warriors.
Warriors up there, yeah.
So to also volunteer at events and be part of things. So it seemed like a nice progression towards that. There's no, so I kind of wanted to get everyone's sense as to that, if there was any objections to moving forward with that. If we feel that we might need some kind of a formal proposal to make that the case.
Has the MOU been signed?
The MOU has not been signed.
So year one, it says at the conclusion of the Garlic Fest.
So they have already
notified the vendors.
They have, so they
Were they notified anyways in anticipation?
they were given some verbal notification during the weekend. And the idea is that they will now be sent a formal letter after the MOU is written to explain that this is going to be the policy moving forward.
What kind of feedback did you get from the vendors? I'm curious because this is going to strike them financially. So yay, the Garlic Fest, and if half the people stop coming because it's cost prohibitive, and we're talking about fines and everything here and zero tolerance. So it doesn't sound like a very welcoming environment for the vendors.
Yeah, this is not the final draft of the MOU. I believe that this is what was put together by the committee most recently, and then given to the chamber to get some feedback on. But it is a sense of if we're going to be serious about this zero waste policy for events that the chamber is hosting, we want to make sure that there is some teeth there. There was
I'm not doubting. I understand that part. My part. I guess we really don't care what the vendors say.
Yeah. So I didn't get any feedback from the committee
because it's gonna raise their prices.
Right. Absolutely.
For buying things, which means it's gonna raise the prices for the people in Bennington that go to. It's just
right. It is
yay, we have compostable flatware. And no one's coming because it's very expensive. I don't think it'll be that bad, but I'm just wondering if they gave that a thought or no, we're 100% compostable. We don't care if the prices go up at the Garlic Fest. You know what I mean? It's all just other things that it's great in this window. This is wonderful. We're going to compost and everything, but then the vendors are going to come and some of them, if they're small, might not be able to afford it. Now I see they're going to offer, hey, come on down. These are our rules. By the way, we'll sell it to you. I see that too, which is nice, but I'm just wondering, cost gets passed on,
right.
So now the vendor pays more, so now he's going to pass it on to the consumer, et cetera. Was there any talk about that or?
There was not much conversation about that as far as buying.
In my conversations with the group before they actually drafted this in prior months, one of the things they wanted to talk about was trying to find ways to model after other successful events that have done similar type layout framework. And one of the things they decided, I think, by going to getting all the materials, buying it and then selling it to, or providing it to the vendors is control the quality and the technical, requirements to be fully compostable and having no PFAS, PFOA, ingredients in the compostable materials. They also know that by buying bulk, they could probably save the vendors money because they're buying so much of any given material that they can sell to them at a lower cost than the vendor would probably be able to buy on their own.
That's something they need to pass to the
Yes.
vendors. That's something, if you're sending out letters, by the way,
Yeah.
if we're buying in bulk, we can pass on a savings because
Yeah.
you want buy-in from them. If
Yeah.
the vendors start telling everybody, you don't want to go to Bennington, they're gonna make you do this.
Yeah,
And everything, you know,
Right.
it's a very good idea. You just don't want to taint it by saying, by the way, everything's compostable. You're paying twice now,
Yeah.
for fried dough, what
Right.
you were, because the plate can now be composted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my concern is,
yeah.
it's
that's a valid-
great, but if no one goes, then the chamber doesn't have functions anymore. Because they're basically mandating themselves out of fun. You know,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Well, I know they're very concerned about making sure this is a very viable event, because it does represent a third of their revenue every
Mhm.
year. So
Yeah.
it has to be a successful
Yeah,
event.
that's why I would suggest, having dealt with the public my whole career. Zero tolerance, but I
Yeah.
understand you need to enforce it. You can't have rules and no way to enforce it or anything like that. But
So
I stepped the language down a little bit
Yeah.
because if I got talked to this way to my face.
And this is not the language we're necessarily giving to the vendors either. This is the
No.
language
Okay.
that is just between the chamber and the compost committee.
Yeah, well, sorry, that's just my 2 cents. Like I said,
No,
you
absolutely.
want someone to buy into something. You don't walk in, slap someone in the face and say, we're doing this. You
Scott,
need-
I agree. I felt the language was a little bit strong. It felt like we're picking on the Garlic Fest, and is it going to be anybody else that has an event there in Bennington or in the district, or right now it's just the Garlic Fest?
So
It
back
didn't feel,
when they met with the committee originally, so there was a little bit of animosity in the committee to give you a little sense about this, but because they had gotten a handshake agreement that they would begin efforts this year at the Garlic Fest specifically, and then what happened is the chamber did not do much of anything related to that or promoting or trying to communicate with any vendors that this is an idea. They just got busy around other things. So they want to begin this as soon as possible to make sure that all the pieces can be put into place. Instead, and it was specifically about, so the reason why there is so much mention of the Garlic Fest in this MOU is because there was already a handshake agreement about specifically turning the Garlic Fest into a zero waste event at a previous date. The overall goal, though, is for the chamber countywide to begin to have zero waste events for all the things that they do.
so there'll be a memorandum of understanding.
Organizers as well. Yes.
There'll be memorandum of understanding between any event that happens in the county.
We are hoping that we can build to that with the chamber as well, once we can prove that this large one is successful.
But it'd just be chamber events right now. It didn't necessarily affect every event that happens within the 13 towns. That is hopefully what we want to get to.
Okay, all
But
right,
this memorandum is initially just for chamber events.
okay.
Paul, do you know the difference in cost between compostable plate versus paper or?
The price is coming down. It's just, it's a matter of what you're getting. Obviously it's finding the right material and also the right item to be used to distribute said food item. So maybe you can do something with a napkin instead of a fancy plastic, whatever, a clamshell or whatever else. It's just a matter, it's gotten a lot cheaper than it was 5 years ago.
Right.
As more companies come into it and more sustainable companies understand the ASTM standards. That's a certification model that is used, that all the products are tested by. When those are set, more companies understand what they need to do to meet that, to be able to sell basically anything that is compostable. It meets all the standards, because it was kind of all over the map a few years ago.
Yeah.
There was all these levels of commercially compostable, but it really didn't say anything. And if you say something that's BPI certified compostable or ASTM standard compostable, then it means at that, the facility, Long Trail facility in Bennington will accept it for composting. They don't take just any compostable materials, really strict because of the forever chemicals and other things that don't break down in their recipe index. So
There's an unfortunate amount of greenwashing in the
Yeah.
Compostable serveware industry, where things are not, are labeled as, you know, compostable,
Yeah.
and really just biodegradable.
and then it ends up a lot of undercutting in the marketplace too, because they're bringing in a lot of imported items that are not truly compostable, but they say they're compostable, and then the material doesn't
So-
break down.
So the MOU was written specifically with a, you know, we will work with the Long Trail facility in Bennington to determine what they are willing to accept. Because that is, Casella has been the main contractor for all of the events that the chamber has hosted of any scale. And we will work with that. Yeah, specifically with that moving forward. You know, with whatever their standards is what we will then try to apply to the event itself. So again, this is all kind of not particularly, this is a group that is interested in moving forward with this. They're planning to move forward with this, I believe, with or without our blessing, I guess you could say, in this regard.
Support.
With or without our support. But you know, we talked about it, and they have been very receptive of all of the feedback that Paul and I have been giving them related to how this stuff works, and you know, why when they see something and they go, oh, well, they do something this way at whatever, at a festival in Europe, why can't we do it here? We have to explain there are different ways, rules and vendors and things, and et cetera, you know. So we've been very helpful to them as a resource. And we're hoping to also be able to use them as a resource in the future if this board wishes to sort of formalize our relationship with them, specifically to continue to promote composting in the area, and to get their, you know, volunteer manpower
Army.
Army, yeah, I guess, at other events that can happen. Hopefully not only just in Bennington, but throughout the county again, which is one of the things I expressed to them, that if we do formalize them, they will need to make some real inroads with other areas of the alliance to also make sure that there's membership and representation and people bringing concerns that they might not be aware of because they don't live in those spaces.
Well, I have a question on the, you have an event and vendors want to sell water in plastic jugs, and that's not compostable, right? So,
But it can be recycled and redeemed,
So-
either redeemed or
okay,
recycled,
so
yeah.
recycled is still part of this, not just compostable.
Yeah, I mean,
It
then
says on it,
ultimately,
redeemable.
Reusable.
yeah, if it just is diverted from landfill, that's what you want to keep
Yeah.
in mind. The stuff that's diverted, either the stuff is organically composted or recycled. You don't have a trash bin.
And serveware, unfortunately, once it has food scraps on it, you know, it needs to be washed before it's recycled. So logistically, it makes more sense to have compostable serveware. So that way it can all just go right into the compost,
Yeah.
instead of having to be cleaned in between.
And
So
part-
yeah,
Yeah, part of that whole compostability is key also for this particular facility, because the Chittenden County Solid Waste Facility, that is the other large composting facility in the state, has ceased accepting any compostable material that is serveware. They only accept food scraps now because they've had so many lookalikes come through. And what they end up is with a recipe that isn't really good.
for soil.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
soil. It's not a real healthful soil
Oh,
because they
right.
got too much other stuff in there. Even after screening to get the detritus out of there, it's still just not good. It
And
doesn't. bring-
Casella's running a large enough facility that they can manage to take their highest quality collection and say, okay, well, this will make good soil and they'll create a topsoil industry, but a lot of what they're doing is going to have a lot more pizza boxes in it or things that are going to be biodegradable, but not as well nutrient rich. So a lot of what Casella is doing is creating sort of more of your fill type of landscaping material as opposed to your
Topsoil.
topsoil. Right.
Yeah, topsoil mix.
And you said recyclable items would be allowed?
Yes.
Okay,
Recyclable,
because single use or recyclable, custom items will no longer be permitted. What's a custom item?
Mm,
Single use or recyclable custom items will no longer be permitted.
I think-
Probably like a cup.
Yeah, I
Plastic
think
cup.
whereas a plastic bottle, they probably want to get away from that. Maybe even you go to filling stations, but if in lieu of that, if they're selling soda, some kind of
Yeah.
carbonated beverage or something
Okay.
that's not in there,
Yeah.
they're not generating it. It's coming direct stream
Right.
from manufacturer. They will collect the recycling for
Yeah,
that.
there was some conversation, I think there were, was just some, like the National Guard to see if they could bring out a water buffalo and have sort of a, water serving space as well as just, instead of just being, the bottled water sales, for people. So there was, they're interested in building partnerships and trying to figure out solutions to issues just like that, that may come up. So.
Yeah, they also have a beer event, craft beer event, and that generates a tremendous number of plastic cups that they use for the samples. And if they can work with the vendors and the organizers to come up with a way to
Either wash the cups.
wash
so
the
they could be
cups, because they
recycled,
can be, or, give them
or-
the commemorative cup and they bring it in and it gets swapped out every time they take a sample, but they come home with one. There's
And
other
then the
events.
issues that they have to negotiate with the health department
Yeah,
related
keep
to
it
that, and whatever
sanitary.
else. And
Yeah.
so that would really be the job of the committee to sort of help figure out these
But this is done in
issues.
other parts of the country. We're not inventing the wheel here. It's
No,
done in lots
that's
of
why,
places.
but I
Yeah.
asked questions and
Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah, so it's adopting a model. It's kind of making that slow shift of change from where we've been at forever to adopting a more sustainable model and reducing the amount of stuff that we're either incinerating outside of state or sending to a landfill, so.
Definitely, looks like, something would be helpful for our little planet, for sure.
Is there action the board has to take?
Yeah,
on
so
this
I
at
mean,
this
yeah, I
point?
guess, I'm actually not 100% sure, but I feel like I would appreciate it if the board was willing to take an action to say we would, we'll support creating a compost committee under the alliance that, will be able to work on these issues. If not, like I said, again, they could continue to operate without sort of our name associated on the MOU.
Okay,
But if there's general support for the concept and for us spending some time working with these folks, that would be, a suggested board action would be to formalize the creation of a compost committee.
Do I have a motion to support this committee for this?
I'll make that motion, Dixie.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, thanks to
Stu and Nancy, great.
Nancy. Any other discussion, any other questions or thoughts? You all in favor of creating this committee with, under our guidance, please say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that motion carries.
Great. Agenda item 4, also semi-related to the compost committee, because there is a component of it that has to do with events organizing. Is the organizing around compostables at events is the chief part that relates to how we are going to be working on it. So not too long ago, Paula approached me and asked for some additional hours because she's now has some time freed up in her schedule and is interested in potentially expanding her work with us from 20 hours a week to 30 hours a week. We began to look at some potential grant opportunities, and we started also talking to some potential project partners. We ended up finding this grant opportunity from the USDA, which is their fiscal year 2024 composting and food waste reduction grant. So the idea of this grant is to basically expand the idea of composting in the area and in a lot of local areas throughout the country. It's a 2-year grant period with a project start date of March of next year. And it would then go until April 30th of 2027. And there's a sort of 75%, 25%. Local match is 25%, 75% of the program budget paid for through the federal government. The awards are anywhere between $75,000 and $500,000. We've partnered with the Bennington County Conservation Committee, who have been working on developing a compost for schools program with a number of groups, including the Abbey Group, who manages the cafeterias for most of the schools in the area. They've actually given us a letter of support for the grant with the Vermont Veterans Home because the Conservation Committee has recently acquired property there that they are going to be turning into a farmstead, and they wish to use some of this grant money to build a robust composting facility. As part of that, they signed a lease recently so the farm is happening no matter what.
Money would be
They
nice.
signed a 15-year lease with the Veterans Home to have that property there and include the veterans in some farming activities and gardening and things like that there. And they are going to also, attempt to have a robust compost facility as part of that. And then also to have some capacity improvements for some of our small farms in the area that are potentially going to improve, they're potentially going to be able to get contracts with educational institutions or other facilities in the area. And those are specifically working with the Dorset Compost and the Soul Connection Farm here in Arlington, Vermont. So that's part of their Compost for Schools budget program, which is approximately $250,000. That there is $258,837 is the actual number for their part of the program. For the part of the program that we would be operating and managing, $100,216 is the way our project budget worked out for when we put all the grant numbers together. So the part that we are doing, our tasks related to the grant would be to organize a volunteer green team, which obviously the start of that is already potentially happening with the Bennington County Conservation Committee. We will want by the green team, we're referring to obviously people to work at events, volunteers to help out and do food scrap collection related to events and other types of event things, to have Paula spend some time working with each of the 13 towns that we have in there to help them update their existing event permitting process to make sure that information about Vermont state law related to separation of waste is included in the event permitting process. And then also a large part of this is to purchase waste collection receptacles and then be able to offer them to event organizers throughout the county. We've based the budget on creating them on foldable event receptacles. If you've seen them, that have this sort of wire frame garbage can that is foldable and has have bags that hang from them and formal plastic tops that clearly identify whether that's a food scraps, or recycling, or a general trash collection facility bin. And then there's also some money in there to create a shed or storage facility located at the current household hazardous waste facility location that would then store all of those,
Frames.
store all of those frames.
Yeah.
Right. That's effectively what it is. Yeah, the hours, time is broken up there. So that would be about 10 hours a week for Paula on top of that, and about 2 hours a week for me, included in the grant. What the committee would, what we would like is the towns then to chip in, of course, 25%, only related to our portion of the grant, which is that $100,000. The rest of the other $250,000, the Bennington County Conservation Committee has worked out how they're creating a match also for the same thing. So it's all one big grant application, specifically because the grant said we want to see community partnerships and community-wide opportunities taking place. The odds of us getting this grant, I'm not 100% sure. Paula spoke with some folks at a conference about it back in May, and they seemed pretty confident in hearing this because there isn't a lot of activity related to grant, related to events. So hopefully we have.
Yeah, he
something
said,
like
1 in 4 chance. I said, really? And he's a high level person within the USDA program within this, and they want to get the money out. There's billions of dollars earmarked for organics diversion, because they see it as a huge climate issue. So they're trying very hard to fund
Now,
it.
these frames and bags, are they free to use events and stuff? Or?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
would
we would.
offer them to event
Yeah,
organizers.
just loan them
Yeah,
out,
loan
and
them.
then they come with a frame and a bag and a lid that would be identifying the type of material that's going to be collected.
And we haven't figured out the exact program yet, and
Yeah.
the grant doesn't force us to say whether or not
Specifically,
any specifics related to it, but it's possible, either maybe they'd be free, at the beginning, and then at some point we may want to,
Yeah.
if we have to do maintenance or replace some of them, we then may begin to start charging some kind of a fee or something
Yeah.
along those
I've
lines.
talked to a couple other solid waste management entities that already do either loan out of such frame issues or actually operate a waste warrior program, and got a good idea of the logistics required of, how long the season is, and because most of the events happen during warmer weather, obviously. And then, how you have to recruit, the software you set up so that you can get people signed up and they're earmarked, the coordination you make with the event organizers, and how it is to follow up to make sure you're providing enough, gauging how many volunteers are needed for any given event, and then how the material is brought in. At what point do you cut your ties if the event organizer can't provide you the information, or you can't get enough volunteers, that sort of thing. But the idea is to try to build momentum. So by year 3, it won't run on its own, but it'll run with a sizable entity of some kind that I can continue to oversee with a lot less oversight required, hopefully. That's the idea. And then, hey, maybe if this committee has got its gear going, that's starting up, I could hand it off to them and they can run with it. That's hopefully the idea.
Do they make compostable bags that would go in those?
We don't usually recommend those because the weight and they tend to fall apart. Most of them are just plastic.
He's talking about the bags that hang.
Right,
on
the
on
frames,
the
they're all
frames.
just
Yeah.
plastic.
Yeah.
But I think most of them can be emptied and reused in an event too. It just depends what it is. If it's
Yeah,
lightweight, yeah. I mean, if it's trash,
How big are they?
well, it depends. The frames usually stand about, you see them at events. Casella sends them out.
I don't do
Yeah.
events.
Right.
Oh, they use
Their
it.
events are Friday and Saturday, and I'm working. Friday
Yeah,
and
they have a
Saturday.
hinge in the middle and they have a wire base and they fold like this, kind of like a tray table, okay? And then the top has a frame and it's a clear plastic bag. 36 gallon, maybe 45 gallon bags.
They're
And
full of organics, you can figure it out.
no, you're not gonna use that for, it's gonna be that, and then you might go with a smaller one with organics. Just depends on how big the event is. I mean, if it's, a family reunion of 50 people, that's one thing. If it's 5,000 people and you have 4 volunteers, then it's a whole different thing. If you've got 25 volunteers and they're moving the material around pretty quick, then you're okay. It's what you have to size up. That's part of find the sweet spot to get the material moved easily.
So the town share, 25,000 change, that would be split up, prorated by the percentages by each town, right?
Right, so that's what, so the quarterly expenses, if the grant happens, are listed on the next page there, so we expect the quarterly budget to be, again, so around $200 additional in charges that we would tack onto your quarterly SWIP bill for Arlington. Again, it's all listed here on the chart available on page 12 of the meeting pack.
So when would the grant go into effect if we got it?
So the grant will go into effect on March
2025.
2025.
So this increase would be in this fiscal year budget, which we don't have that money in there, right?
We do not have that money in there. There would be a 1 quarter. There would be 1 quarter's worth of additional charge right now that would be outside of the fiscal year budget.
So these expenses really impact FY 26 and 27.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, we may even be able to.
When will we hear about the application?
So the application is due this week. So we haven't actually applied for it yet. I'm sort of trying to get the vibe of everybody if we're going to do it. So Bennington County Regional Commission has agreed to support the Conservation Committee and us if we move forward with this. But it is not it's not there. I don't know when we hear about whether we've.
It's not clear to me. It was like toward the end of the year.
Yeah, it was sometime around December.
Yeah.
We'll get about 3 months notice.
The reason I ask, of course, is we want to build this into next year's budget.
Yes.
We can.
Yeah.
It sounds like we probably won't be able to do that if we don't hear until after the first of the year.
Well, we bill our budget is approved. We are generally at board of directors meetings. We've been approving them at our June board of directors meeting. So
not your budget, our budgets.
Oh, yeah.
oh, the town budget. So excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry about yours.
Right. So, but most of that would come in. Again, yeah, I would. I'm not sure. Hopefully, we'll get some notice beforehand about that.
Yeah.
I think we need a proposal to pursue this from our committee, right?
Yeah, if there's a proposal to pursue the grant opportunity, then that would be good to know.
So do I have a motion to, I make. Okay.
Also,
Second, Tom, thank you. Any other discussion, questions, or? It seems like a pretty good lift from the federal government to support this, so. With that, all in favor of going to this proposal for this grant, please say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, thank you.
We're gonna abstain from that one, just.
Okay.
Or, you can't hear it, so, but.
All right. So noted.
Yeah, somebody throw something.
What's it?
He said.
Okay. So that's a.
It is accepted, so
It's,
pursue that, sounds great.
the motion carries.
Thank you.
Great.
Big part of the project if we get it.
Household hazardous waste facility is the next item on the agenda. So there's, we've continued to have regular Monday service at the household hazardous waste facility. The attendance through August was lower than we anticipated, so we've had really only about half of our appointments fill up for 3 out of the 4 weeks of August. The last week we had a full account again, and then this week actually for the first week of service in September, it was the day after Labor Day. We only had 6 appointments despite us having 18 slots. So we're really going to look at sort of how that works. I'm going to compare sort of our advertising schedule and our advertising budget to see if maybe we need to compensate for when people are less likely to be going through their garages and their basements and things like that. I feel like the strong popularity during the spring cleaning season that we got, we were sold out for the first, 6-8 weeks every single time. We were fully booked. But now in August, again, we sort of dropping. There was a mix of that. I guess we had very hot days. I guess people also travel a lot in August, but I was hoping that we continue to have continued success related to that. But otherwise, operations have been going fairly well. We did get our first inspection by the state of Vermont and by the EPA. They came in, DEC rather, excuse me. They came in on July 25th to look at our location, and they also looked at all of the rest of the facility in Bennington as well. Casella and unfortunately the town of Bennington got dinged with some things as well. We had 3 issues related to our household hazardous waste collection facility. The major one being that we didn't have a full 24 inches of clearance to the back of the locker for accessing all of the waste. That is going to, if you scroll down actually a little bit, Nick, or if you look at the photograph everyone can look on their own on their own page. But if you look at the photograph at the bottom of the page there, page 13, we had a very full container, and it's going to, that state rule about needing 24 inches of clearance is basically going to mean that we can only store 6 barrels worth of waste instead of 9 barrels worth of waste, which is what we have been doing when before our pickup comes. This is going to mean that we have a little bit more of a fee. We're going to have slightly more frequent pickups from our person. Right now, we've been trying to do it once a month. It might have to be once every 3 weeks or so next schedule. So that will unfortunately increase our operating costs moving forward. They have not given any kind of fines associated with this yet. Most things that they looked at were easily correctable on site. There was a log book, a safety log book I was able to, I also need to implement. That's also on the next page. If you look at page 14, this is an example that they gave me of what to do. And I've been filling this out now, but I've also looked at this and just considered it in the context of our individual site. And I've created a form that sort of has this for different areas. So one for our toxics, one for our flammables, one for our poisons, and then also having a separate one for our compressed gas canisters and things like that. So I've created a more custom version of this that's specifically for our site that will be there for me to use moving forward. So we won't get this kind of a ding again. Again, I have not received any information as to whether there's going to be any kind of a financial fine associated with this, but that's that's effectively where we are. Whenever we have waste on site, we need to have at least once every 7 days someone going and visiting the facility to make sure it is there. So if there's a case like last year, to make sure there are no leaks, there are no spills, things like that. If there's a case like last year where we had closed shop on October 30th, I think was our last shop, and we didn't get some of the waste picked up until middle of January, I will need to make sure to go there on a regular basis to inspect and things like that. So that's also part of how that works. But there's not much else to expect there. Hopefully we will continue to see the town of Bennington also collecting oil on site. I know that they have they had a few issues with their oil collection facility there. We work very closely with that specific aspect of that because folks come to us, and we point them down the block, down the block of the facility a little bit and tell them to take their oil there, but we'll take their paints and all those other things too. So
Sunderland's not taking oil right now either.
So
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll continue.
Good to know.
Hopefully we will not have to pick up the slack on that one.
Yeah.
If that's the case, but,
All right. Yeah, no.
Yeah, but I tell
Takes it
people,
down,
take it to garages.
Maybe use it, and
Sure.
beautiful, and go for it.
Whitingham does that. All of that stuff gets burned down at the town garage.
Yeah,
And their
Heats the
heater
place,
takes care of it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
and you guys are all out filters, but that's beside the point, it's still,
Yeah.
it's still burning, yeah.
when people mix oil with antifreeze or oil with gas, we do take that. We do take some products, but anything that we know can be collected by like a town and reused, we try to keep that off of our, out of our storage lockers and, you know, off of our cost spreadsheet, yeah. So that's basically all there is about the Hassel Hazard Waste Facility. Are there any, questions about that before we move on?
Do you, advertise on front page forum at all for how often does that?
Yeah.
We do advertise at Front Porch Forum. We've done sort of 3-week bursts at a time of advertising at Front Porch Forum, so it may end up being something that we didn't want to overwhelm people with the same message over and over again.
Different topic, yeah.
And again, like I said, I think we're going to look at the advertising compared to our registration rates and see if there's any correlation between when we're spending the most money advertising, when the registration rates are happening. We definitely did a big push of advertising at the beginning of the season. And then that dwindled off. You know, and we'll do a bit more again right now. We've already started a series of advertising already in the banner and
Radio.
and on the radio
This week, yeah.
this week. So
Great.
hopefully
Well,
we'll
I'll
see.
tell you what I've done, when I have the rules and all this stuff, you know, I have this thing about the recyclables on one page, open up second page is the thing on household hazardous
Right.
waste. And that goes into the rules and the price sheets and the free dump day and all that stuff we have. But that's right there, and it's the first year I've done that, so people appreciate it, really. I said, listen, all you need to do is look at this, you know? And if you don't have it, I got one here, I got one down there, and you know, it's everywhere. I got that big metal sign, it's right down where everybody can see it.
Great.
So it's, I'm trying to get the word out. I don't know how well it's going, but I've been trying.
Good. Yeah, and I've gotten, so my plan is at the next board meeting, I'll have a full account of our full first season's, you know, our full season's worth of activities at the facility. And then I'll have a count, you know, of users, a count of users by town, a general idea of how much waste has been dropped off, you know, per household that's coming in, and also that advertising analysis that we can all look at together at the next board meeting. I apologize. It's yeah, we're going a little long today. A few complicated things to talk about, but that's effectively it. Great. Next item on the agenda is a legislative update. We can just do this real quick. The changes to the household hazardous waste EPR law were signed by the governor. And so the new covered products list is available on page 15 and 16 of your meeting materials packet. And so right now, the state is looking for a corporation to come in and manage the extended producer responsibility law related to household hazardous waste. Though the exact way that the reimbursements are going to work is yet to be determined, because that management company needs to come in and sort of figure all of that out. And we are, yeah, hoping to see that get started, yeah, at the end of next year.
January, March of 2026, when this is actually supposed to be law and in place.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
all
something like
the
that,
pieces will
Q1.
be in, yeah, so right now, the state is just asking us for a lot of information related to our costs.
Yeah.
What our contracts with, our pickup people, look like, et cetera. And there's yet to be determined if it's going to be more like the paint care program, where it is where it's a situation where there is one vendor who comes in and collects all the paint from our facility and then manages it on their own, or whether it's going to be something that is more similar to what the pesticide grant that I spoke of earlier, where it is I submit a bunch of receipts and then we get reimbursements. If it does end up being similar to the paint care program, it might have to change completely the way that we contract with our because we do. The reason why we get a good rate on labor is because they also know they're collecting the waste from us with Heritage. So we'll just have to see how the law shakes out and how this all moves forward to see how that will have to affect the way we build our business model related to the household hazardous waste facility. Great. Great. And next item is
Okay,
outreach.
Fix It Fun 2 is the next repair event we're going to have in November that we're partnering with the Bennington Free Library. And right now we are looking for fixers, repairers, people with any kind of skill to fix household items, computers, electronics, mechanical items, sewing, you name it. If you can contact the Bennington Free Library, they're eager to have folks sign up. It's November 9th from 11 to 4, as we mentioned earlier. My outreach involves, since the last report in June, created and sent out e-newsletters to both the general public and the schools, 26 schools that we have in our area, both in June and then again at the end of August. I attended the ReFed conference from June 11th through the 13th in Baltimore, where it's an international conference on addressing food waste and improving organics diversion worldwide. And that's where I learned about the USDA grant. And I met with officials there to learn about how to apply. Hosted a booth at the Manchester Energy Fair on June 15th. I provided outreach to 5 event organizers. Worked with Bay State Books and 4 transfer stations we have to try to expand the collection program to include additional drop boxes so that they can make more efficient runs when they come up to this area from Boston to collect the books. Distribute additional household hazardous waste facility handouts to transfer stations. I'm going to do it again. I've got a few left. I'll probably drop off to Shaftesbury and Bennington. Worked with Scott in setting the parameters of the USDA grant, of course, and talked to Swimmies about their programs and equipment requirements to manage outreach for events. I hosted booths at the Arlington, Manchester, and Dorset farmers markets in June, July, August, and will do so this week for September. I made a presentation to a day camp at Oak Hill Children's Center about recycling, and then a week or 2 later at the Farm to Table Committee at Oak Hill Children's Center. They are trying to reduce the amount of waste in their food preparation area. Made a composting presentation to the John G. McCullough Library in North Bennington on August 8th. I met with owners at Dorset Compost on August 28th with Scott, and we did a taping of a segment for GNAT TV. Dorset Compost is just a new company that started. They are taking organics material for making a very clean and sustainable soil amendment and healthful material for their customers as well. And this is an organization that is doing curbside collection for residents and commercial accounts in Dorset and Manchester. Soul Connection is another organics facility. They're a mushroom farm primarily, but they're also starting to do organics collection curbside for folks in Arlington and surrounding areas. Going forward, I'm going to do another presentation of the Bennington Rotary on this Friday, September 6th, and continue to monitor and manage the social media pages. We set up GNAT TV ad to run, as well as ones on Green Cone composters and the household hazardous waste facility.
Busy.
Everyone wants to get out the
That's
door.
all?
How was bread cake involved?
They were good. I actually had one.
Okay.
I thought,
Been
you
there
go to
many
Baltimore and not have crab cakes. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Is there any public comment? No?
You're public.
Hi,
Yes.
Hi, Dixie.
Oh, that's all right.
So Matthew Granger, local resident, business owner. The new Act 58, I don't have the sheet, is there a list on the website that would have?
Yeah, I can give you the copy of this as well.
Okay, I'm just curious, like, are there any changes or what?
So what the difference is, There are existing laws related to household hazardous waste. But this creates an extended producer responsibility setup. So the same way that we have a paint program and a battery collection program, this now is going to create a similar program for household hazardous waste. It was a bit of a lift legislatively because it's not just one category of items, it's a number of categories of items. And what those items are specifically ended up being covered in this list. So basically, again, it sounds like they're going to be creating sort of a reimbursement program for us to continue operations as usual and then just get reimbursed for some of this waste. But what it's going to do is it's going to create a fee at time of purchase on this list of items that then will support the
That's what I was gonna ask. So that, like they do with the
proper
paints.
disposal of these items.
They do that when
Like
you buy
similar.
yellow paint, so that-
Yeah.
that's cool, awesome.
Take the drag off the municipalities.
Yeah, yeah, for
With a
sure.
lot of the.
So
cost
will that
collected.
be the list of, I should go by that list only of what to bring, or is there like a greater?
So right now, this doesn't affect our current list at the household hazardous waste facility. It will not affect, we will make that determination in 2026 once the law is fully in effect and any management organization exists.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are we continuing business as usual, you and I, as far as
Yeah,
the
we're-
list of customers and stuff like that?
Right, we're continuing business as usual, the way that you operate as a junk removal company that works with multiple households.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Great, good job. Anything else? Any other public comment? Next meeting?
Summer? Or June?
Yeah, so it's should be next quarter. So yeah, so this is the one where I always try to figure out, do we want to do it? Generally, it's in between Thanksgiving and
Christmas
Christmas
Eve.
sometimes. So yeah. So if we continue to have it on.
In the next 2 full weeks, I'll be in Pennsylvania.
Nice. Wait, hunting little whitetail?
So
I would just be setting a camp, as if one runs through, I might jump one's back or something, I'm not that crazy.
Go for a
about it.
ride.
I do the cooking, I have a lot of fun.
First week of December,
so
4th, 11th.
yeah, probably unfortunately, with or without Tom then.
I'll be
But
here.
the 4th, the 11th, or the 18th are the 3 dates that would make the most sense since we meet on Wednesdays.
The 18th, I'll be here because.
So any preference? I'm gonna call it December 11th.
December 11th.
Great.
Do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
5:07. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Works a lot.
Everybody.